9 minutes, 9 players, 9 positions. Let's outperform projections.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We are your team every day. I'm Sam Olber. I'm a lifelong fan, taking my passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. We got a fun one for you today. I always say that because we always do. Talk a little bit about Matt Shaw at the end of the show. Is all this versatility going to be good, bad, or indifferent for his growth? Where do the Cubs stack up among the NL's best? But we start with one of my favorites. If you're an everydayer, you remember it from last year. I call it 9 and 9, where I basically take 1 minute on each player, each position player. So this will be DH and all the offensive players, and just go over not exactly what I predict is going to happen, but what I think needs to happen in order for the Cubs to have a successful offensive campaign. We do the same thing the following week with pitchers, 9 and 9, pick 9 pitchers. You know, what do we need to see for them for everything to work out? And we do it periodically throughout the season. So when guys are slumping, we do checkpoints. I think I did a few of them last year. It's a fun exercise. It's kind of like off Chris Berman's fastest 2 minutes. We go 9 and 9. I'm just going to go with the starters here, the projected starters in my eyes. And we are going to rock and roll. So let's get started. I'm going to group together the catcher position, Miguel Amaya, Carson Kelly together. I think we're going to need to see nothing crazy there, 240, something like that, 240 with an on base in the 320s, maybe a slug over 4. If the OPS starts with a 7 and you're getting really good defense from both of those guys, that's going to be a success. I know that might bother a lot of people because Carson Kelly just came off a great season. I regretted when we did our bold prediction episode that I didn't have Carson Kelly on there because I had him on my notes. I just didn't choose him. I went with Happ instead. That I was going to say, hey, Carson Kelly's going to run away with the catcher position because I felt like that was a possibility last year. I feel the exact opposite this year. I think watch out for Miguel Amaya. If one of these catchers is going to have a big year again, I think it's going to be Amaya. But let's just be conservative with it. OPS over 7, play good, solid defense, throw out runners, hold runners, etc. That should be enough for this team. Over to third base, Alex Bregman. You may have heard of him. I need to see 270 in the 280 range. And yes, I'm going to still talk about batting average. And yes, I'm going to mention RBIs. I'd like to see him hit about 25 plus home runs and drive in the 90s with the RBIs, depending on where he's batting in the order, because that could skew things a bit. Play very solid defense and be the leader of this ball club. I think that's what this team will need. OPS-wise, I think it's got to start with an 8. With the money he's making, full no trade clause, bumping Shaw off the position, that OPS has got to start with an 8. Even if it's 805, that's good enough. OPS start with an 8, hit 25 plus home runs, drive in runs, put the ball in play, decent batting average. That's what $35 million players do. Over to Dansby. With Dansby, I'll keep this one short because I could always go under a minute. Just do the 240 to 260 thing, 25-ish home runs, play Gold Glove defense. I don't really care about the rest. That's what you're here to do at the shortstop at the premium position. You know, try not to be, the worst hitter on the team for large periods of time. 240 to 260, 25 home runs, that OPS sitting in the mid-7s, 740 to 760, something like that. 750 would be wonderful. And that's plenty good enough. Over to second base. This one's easy. Gonna keep it short with this one. Nico, same thing as last year. That's what we need. Same thing as last year. Don't care that you're hitting a lot of home runs in BP. I know you're in a walk year and maybe you want to show the rest of the league that you could pop 20 home runs. Just do exactly what you did last year, and that is more than enough. Hit for an average close to 300. Play gold glove defense. When it's big at bat time and we need a big base hit to right center field, you go get that base hit. Hit with runners in scoring position. Do the little things that don't come in the box score. Nico Horner of 2026. Just repeat the Nico Horner of 2025. That's plenty. Over to first base, Michael Busch. Here's where I think you could push a little bit. Here's where I think you could push Michael Busch. I think he could flirt with 37, 38 home runs, even have talks about being the first Cub since Billy Williams to hit from the left side and hit 40-plus home runs, depending on what the weather does. Now, that's not what he needs to do for this team to be successful, but I think his batting average is going to take a little bit of a hit this year because he's going to face lefties a lot more, so you might see 250, maybe even something 240. But I think this guy's got real power, and I would love to see a guy right around Labor Day at 32, 33 home runs and have talks of seeing him to get to 40, playing that good, solid top 5, top 6 level defense at first base. Over to the outfield, I'm going to keep this short with Happ and Seiya. Just be Happ and Seiya. We know, everybody knows how that goes now. There'll be a point in the season where Seiya looks like the best hitter on the team by a mile, and then there'll be a point in the season where he looks like the worst hitter on the team by a mile. Would love to see him walk a little bit more, keep the same power. Needs to be a 30-plus home run guy. Batting average-wise, I'm fine with 250s. Get that on base up, though. Try and get that on base up while keeping that power that you had last year. It has to be at least 325, 330. Ian's going to do his classic, 250, 260 on base high, 345, 350. See if he can get to 25 home runs. I'm going to keep it short with those guys. We know what those guys need to do, and we know they're going to do it. The last two guys have the most variance, have the most volatility to them. And that's PCA and Moises Ballesteros. I have him at the DH position. First half, Pete, MVP. Second half, Pete, not MVP. I'm going to say this. If Pete's in the 250, 260 range, on base, probably low, 305, 310 would be plenty. Slug in the mid fours, maybe high fours, but mid fours, 27, 28 home runs. That should be good enough for this team. What I want to see Pete do a better job of this year, what he needs to do a better job of this year, is instead of being a fast base runner, or I shouldn't say instead, in addition to being a fast base runner, become a great base runner. Become more instinctual. Get better at getting jumps. He should be able to steal 40-plus bases easily. He should be caught maybe 3, 4, 5 times. He's that fast. But it seems like his instincts, he doesn't trust his instincts on the bases. I want to see an elevation from him in that part of his game. But as far as what he needs to do, those numbers, 250, let's say 255, 310, 458 on the slug, that'll be good with, assuming he's still one of the best defensive players on planet Earth. Closing up with Moises Ballesteros. He needs to hit for a high average if he's going to DH. He needs to hit for a high average. He brings that extra element along with Bregman, along with Nico, that average. I don't think it's crazy to say, I know he's 22. I'd like to see him hit about 275, 280. OBP 330, 340. And if those are the first two of the slash line, I don't even really care about the slug that much. As long as it starts with a 4, even if it's 405, 410, that'd be wonderful. That'd be fantastic. But this young man, if he's going to stick and he's going to hit in this lineup and potentially in the middle of this lineup, he needs to hit for average. Spray the ball all over the diamond. Try and keep it above the ground. That was my 9 in 9 minutes. I'll probably do this again before the season of what the Cubs, I think, what they need to do to be a successful offense. I'm going to tell you why that's good, but why there is a little bit of an outperforming of projections, if you will, that's going to need to happen to stack up with some of these other NL teams. We talk about that coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. It's about finding the right person with the right background who can actually help your business move forward. And if you want candidates who match what you're looking for, Indeed sponsored jobs is the move. Because instead of hoping the right person stumbles across your post, Indeed helps you match with quality candidates by boosting your job listing to the people who fit your specific criteria like skills, certifications, and location. I could tell you guys on a personal front, at my day job, I've used Indeed. It's been like, I think 9 years now. Without Indeed, I wouldn't have hired coaches. I wouldn't have a business to work for, really. I mean, it's been great. It's so easy. There's so many different cool features you could do. You could set your own template to how you message candidates, and then they come back to you really quickly. I've had situations where I've, did an interview, and the next day I have them in person and hired within 72 hours. It's a really efficient process. And here's the stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed. Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Cubs with no interruptions, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedoncubs.supercast.com or check the link in this episode description. I wanted to just get everybody's eyes on the rest of the NL. I know we've talked a lot about the NL Central, so let's talk a little bit about the rest of the National League. It's loaded, folks. It's loaded. It's again better than the American League in terms of just pure talent with some of these teams. And I want to talk about, I connected this to the 9-9 for a reason. I want to talk about this Cubs team and how I think they have an extremely high floor, but they're going to need somebody, i.e., like Pete did last year, the first half of their season, to raise their ceiling in order to, I think, compete with some of these teams. Because I think the Bregman signing, to me, that was more of a floor raiser, right? It wasn't as much of a ceiling raiser. Now, maybe Alex Bregman has one of the best years of his career, but I think it was more of a steady the ship at the hot corner versus expecting, him to have a 930 OPS and be in MVP conversations. I think the Cubs are going to need a ceiling raiser internally with what I just discussed. And here's why. Braves over under 89.5 wins, one more than the Cubs. This is on FanDuel. Obviously, the Braves, they got Acuna Jr., they got Matt Olson. They're pretty loaded. I'm really kind of strictly talking offensively this episode. I think the Cubs are right there with the Braves. I look at their team on paper. I don't think there's a big gap there, if any, really. I picked the teams that had over-unders higher than the Cubs, by the way. Mets, 90.5. Look, the Mets got a lot better. They really did. Juan Soto and Francisco Lindor, I don't think the Cubs have anybody on their roster that projects like those two guys do. Bo Bichette will be really interesting to see the year he has versus Bregman, just in terms of that free agency part of it. Again, I'm more talking just offense here. I don't expect anybody on the Cubs to have a Juan Soto type year, but I would love to see somebody on the Cubs have a Lindor type year or a Bichette type year. And I think that is possible. Who it's going to be, it's anybody's guess. Could it be Pete? Don't count out Michael Bush. You never know with Seiya, as we talked about. But somebody that I mentioned in that 9-9 is gonna, there's gonna be one or two people that are below what I said. Somebody's gonna have to be about 2 steps above it for this team to get where they want to go in the regular season. Who else do we have here? The Philadelphia Phillies, 89.5, one game ahead of the Cubs. Again, they got Schwarber, they got Trey Turner, they got Bryce Harper. Those are three. I call them, actually, well, Boog calls them aircraft carriers. I call them like hubs of offenses. They're both definitions are the same thing. They can carry you, right? They can carry you through. How many of those guys do the Cubs have? You can make the case they have like 5 or 6, right? Say Bush, Pete, Bregman. These guys can carry you through stretches, but can they carry you as far and as long as those 3 guys? I don't know. And then, of course, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers at 103.5 wins. I don't really think that needs to be elaborated on. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of good teams in the NL. And according to FanDuel, the Cubs are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. The Cubs are 5th in the National League. And I'll be honest, I think it's pretty fair. I think you can convince me the Cubs are a better team than the Braves and Mets. And to be honest with you, I think they're right there with the Phillies too. They have a lot of depth. Their floor situation is really, really good, meaning a lot can go wrong, and I still think they're going to be pretty good. How good can they be, i.e. their ceiling? That's what I still have in question going into the spring. What's the ceiling number on this team? Is it 93 wins? That's not that high for a ceiling. Is it 95, 96? Now we're talking. And to me, the path, at least offensively, to get there is to, either have everybody do what I said in the 9 minutes, which never happens. It's not realistic, where everybody just does their job and is solid. Because if everybody has that type of year, the Cubs will have a top 4 or 5 offense in baseball and it won't matter. Or, who's going to be the guy that says, come on, guys, follow me, right? Because it was Pete and Tucker in the first half. And then Shaw did some really good things in the second half, but it wasn't like a follow me situation. And then at the end of the year, it was really Nico and Happ and a little bit of Dansby saying, okay, follow me. Do they have a guy that could do that for 4 or 5 months? I don't know. Do they need a guy that could do that for 4 or 5 months? I don't know. But in order to compete with those guys, that I mentioned, these teams are probably going to have to. But the counterpoint is, the goal for the Cubs this year is to win the NL Central. I said that last year. I'm going to say it again. Win the NL Central. Ideally, try and get a bye and see if you can take yourself into a series with the Dodgers and see what happens. And in a 5-game series against Philadelphia, a 5-game series against Atlanta, a 5-game series against New York, really none of what I'm saying is going to matter. It's just mathematically, you just don't want to run into, okay, we're playing the Mets. We won 93, they won 91, but Soto, we can't get Soto out, and he hit 4 home runs in 5 games and whatever. Do we have a guy that's capable of doing that? What's really cool is that Michael Bush did a little bit of that in the postseason, and so did Seiya Suzuki. Just want to put that out there. Both those guys did a little bit of that, and I know that's, most people would just say, well, that's just the math, and it doesn't matter. It's just another game. I thought that was pretty cool. 2 guys in their first playoff experiences, having really cool moments like they did. So we'll see. I think the Cubs stack up really well with pretty much all these teams besides for LA and have a chance to beat any of them in a 5-game series. But the first step, and really the only step until it gets completed, is to win this division and beat out the Milwaukee Brewers. If you're wondering, their over-under is at 84.5. Somebody that I think is going to have a big say in if the Cubs beat the Milwaukee Brewers over 162 this year is Matt Shaw. We're going to talk a little bit about him coming up next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The winter games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. And that's why following the winter games on FanDuel just makes sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle on the sports you care about most, FanDuel gives you more ways to stay connected to the action. As you guys know, I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I did bet on the USA to take home the gold because there's a really good documentary on Netflix about the Miracle on Ice, the 1980 team, and it inspired me. Herb Brooks inspires me. Micah Rosioni inspires me in that documentary. And, I just think that one of the coolest moments in sports is a sport that I don't particularly follow that much. And it gets me really excited. And I'm excited to watch the hockey at the Winter Olympics because of the 1980 team. I still can't believe how cool that story is. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow them with FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. Okay, we are back here on Locked On Cubs, number one Cubs podcast. You can check me out, Matt out. Matt and I are together 3 times a week. I'm by myself once a week, and then Matt is typically joined by somebody else once a week. That might, we might change that. We'll see how that goes, just in terms of the 5-day schedule when the season starts. But right now, that's what we're doing. Hope you guys are enjoying the content. We sure enjoy bringing it to you. I wanted to close the show today by just talking a little bit about Matt Shaw, right? I was talking to a friend yesterday that said, I'm a little bit worried about Shaw. It's just he needs to focus on hitting, right? And just getting better offensively, and throwing all these new positions at him could stunt his development or make it harder for him. I thought it was a good point, and I thought it was worth a segment on the show. And I thought a lot about it. And my conclusion is this. I think Matt Shaw seems like the type of guy where the more things that get thrown at him, the better he's going to be. I just do. Last year, he played third base. I mean, that was like, we spent a lot of time talking about that. And outside of Pete, I guess maybe Nico, but he was arguably the best defender on the team outside of Pete. Let's just say that, at a position he really hadn't played before and didn't play it at the big league level. Now, the counterpoint is, well, did it affect his offense? I think Matt Shaw's offensive issues, there's a lot there, right? Like, there's a lot. There's the leg kick. There's the timing. There's the approach. There's the eye. Like, even though he had a lot of success in the second half, I'm not sure he's close yet to being the offensive player he's eventually going to be. And the Cubs are in win now mode. So what they need to do is take advantage of what he is. And what he is a tremendous athlete that's extremely versatile defensively, that can help you in a lot of ways. They need to take advantage of his speed and let the growing pains and let those things happen as they may. Now, if he needs every day at bats and he's not getting them, I just think this team's priority right now is above Matt Shaw's growth right now, and it's going to be, hey, I know that you need every day at bats, and we're going to get you those at some point. But right now we need you in right field because, Say is injured, or we need you in left because Hap's injured, and we'll figure out the rest later. And he's a competitor. And I think he will figure out a way to, acclimate himself well. And he also is competing still for a lot. Like, I don't think Matt Shaw wants to DH, but Moises Ballesteros, I'm a huge fan, but it's no guarantee that that's going to be his job. He's going to run with it. If Matt Shaw shows some adjustments in spring training and starts crushing the ball, he'll be back in the everyday lineup. Like, there's a lot at stake for this young man, and I think he's up for it. I really do. He had a very poor postseason. I think he was overwhelmed by the stuff, and understandably so. Pete was overwhelmed by the stuff at times in the postseason. All the guys were. I mean, who's not going to be overwhelmed by 104 miles an hour? It was crazy. But I've said this a lot with Shaw. My big thing for Matt Shaw, very similar to Pete, different subjects, is balance, right? So the big conversation around Pete is he needs to take more pitches. No, because if he takes more pitches, he's also going to take more pitches that he drives. It's balance. Do you see slow progress with Pete? Hey, you know what? He laid off that 3-2 breaking ball. Hey, you know what? he took that 2-0 borderline pitch because he wanted to do some more damage with it. Baby steps. It's not going to happen that fast. Same with Matt Shaw, different type of balance. With Matt Shaw, it's going to be hitting the ball hard and hitting it to different parts of the field, because what got him here, what made him unique, is his opposite field approach. The Cubs said, well, that isn't working. We want you to pull the ball in the air more, which we know is the Cubs' philosophy. But I'm not sure Matt Shaw is a good enough hitter to just pull the ball in the air as his philosophy and be good enough. He needs to do both. He needs to balance it. So what I'm looking for, maybe out of his first 50 ABs is a home run to left field and a home run to right center. Or, a couple doubles to right center and a long home run to left. Stuff like that, where it's like you're picking your spots. You're not going into every at bat predetermining, I got to pull this ball in the air. I have to. That's not who you are. That's not what got you here. Defensively, I think it'd be foolish to have any concern about where he's going to play. If you can go from second base to third base the way he did at the major league level, you can go from third base and play some right field, play some left field, and do a decent job. So I really hope the Cubs keep him. I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to the trade rumors and stuff like that, because this is the part of the offseason I usually try and shift my mind to baseball and baseball only, winning baseball games, getting guys to ground out into double plays in big spots defensively, sack flies, base hits, bunts, home runs. I try and shift into that mindset instead of, so-and-so might be interested if you do this. I'm done with that. That's not my favorite part of what we do. My favorite part of what we do is winning baseball games, right? Now, do I do that? No, but I get a chance to cover it, and I'd like to cover about 94 of them this season. So we'll see what happens with Matt Shaw, but I don't think it's going to overwhelm him, all this stuff. I don't think it's going to have an effect on him, but if anything, I think it will be a good thing for him. Hope you guys enjoyed 9 and 9. Let me know if I missed anything. Thank you for making Locked On Cubs your first listen of the day. For those of you on video, we send you to the 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel, and on audio, make sure your second listen is Locked On MLB. Michael Busch, 37 home runs.